It's a absolutely stunning, beautiful morning here in New Zealand for the Sexy Aging podcast, and I have the pleasure of introducing Kimberly Holiday-Coleman, you're in Houston, Texas, is that right?
Currently, I am in right outside of Lexington, Kentucky.
Oh, okay,
I'm a native Houstonian though,
okay,
and we will be moving back this year. So
yes.
preemptive announcement. Boop, boop.
Hey, it's so nice to talk to you. We were connected through mutual friends through podcasting. And we've already had a little 10-minute catch up, which is, I'm like, I think I should have pushed record earlier. We already started having a really good conversation around a key message that I want to bring to light today, which is body positivity. And body positivity and aging kind of come head to head. So we're going to talk about that a little bit later. But I really want to introduce my amazing guest, Kimberly, and your incredible story. So welcome to the Sexy Aging podcast.
Thank you so much. I am so delighted to be here. I cannot wait to get in here and chop it up with you and
Yeah.
break all myths and unnecessary stigmas we carry around. Yes.
Yes, that's us. We're on it today. I just want to take a few steps back because obviously with every important conversation, there's usually an underlying story that gets you to a place of, for us, body positivity. So you have a really unique experience. And if you're happy to share with the listeners, that would be amazing.
Sure. Yes. Well, I am a 6-year colorectal cancer survivor, stage 2. I was diagnosed in July of 2015 after experiencing like roughly 7 months of conscious and recognizable symptoms and going back and forth to my doctor, taking an initial test, fecal occult test for early detection of colorectal cancer. It came back negative. Going back to the doctor, continuing to advocate until I was able to receive a, a colonoscopy at
Mm-hmm.
the age of 47, which at that time in 2015 was under the age in the United States for you to be able to get screened. So that really meant that I was advocating and pushing. And so upon, awakening from that, they told me that I had stage 2 colorectal cancer. And I went about uh, going through that whole battle. And so with that, there was a lot of body change. And one of those changes was having a colostomy, being given a colostomy, which was supposed to be only temporary and temporary twice. And I ended up keeping it. So now I am 6 years in with my colostomy, whose name is Toodles, which I
You
call
have a name for your colostomy.
yes, because she's my side buddy.
Oh, I love that. That's you, if you're going to embrace it, you may as well name it, claim it,
That's right. That's
right?
right. That's right. That's right. Yes.
Yeah.
And it's individual for each ostomy, of course, but I find that it has fostered an incredible relationship with my body. It's helped to foster this healing relationship with my body and a coming to accepting, that all of the scars from surgery or life or whatever all have come together to paint this, beautiful picture, which is me.
Oh,
And
absolutely. When you talk about beautiful, I'm sitting here and I'm listening to you, but I'm also looking at this absolutely stunning woman. So if anybody is deciding that they want to check in with the YouTube version of our interview, I highly recommend you are glowing, Kimberly. And there's obviously, your personal experience will have led to a lot of how you feel about living today.
yes,
Yeah.
yes, yes, it has. So, after going, when you're in that battle, it's like you're really just going for in fight or flight. And I just remember the day that I was diagnosed, I made a conscious decision, amidst the tears and the fears and all of that, my husband and I, not knowing whether I would live or, you know, transition through this. And I just was like, you know what? I just want to go stop, get a bottle of champagne, and we're going to toast to being on the kicking cancer's butt and being on the other side of this thing. And, so that just took me on this it took me on a powerful journey of discovery of self, of, like where the cancer battle is truly fought, because our bodies are fragile. So again, we keep having this body mind connection, going on, and how do we consolidate those two and try to find some type of balance and acceptance and peace with things that are happening that are not most optimal, like
Yeah.
colorectal cancer, receiving an ostomy. How do you take that such a huge transformations in your body, mind, and spirit and evolve that into something beautiful?
Yeah. I just want to also highlight you have 6 children.
Yes.
Okay, so when you get a diagnosis for cancer and you have children, I think that's actually an incredibly challenging moment for the family and conversation. How do you do that? Like, sorry if
Well,
this is like super personal, but
no,
you've
no,
actually really highlighted to me when there's children in
yes.
the experience, like what happens? Like, how do you do that?
Well, I think I did what a lot of moms do. We try to suck it up, buttercup, and put our best face forward and show our kids that we can get through this and that we're going to be there for them no matter what. And I did that. However, to come to find out that that wasn't a service to myself or them, and that it's teaching them not to have that connection to their body that acknowledges what is happening and then works to create this healing, whatever that looks like. Not necessarily like, oh, I'm going to heal from cancer, but how can you heal to the best of whatever your situation is? And
Yeah.
so, I just realized that through that process, as my body is, it's evolving, it's doing all these things. I lost 30 pounds in a month. It's just evolving. and I don't, and I'm coming to having to deal with this face to face with this new physicality in so many different ways. And so it was powerful because my children were seeing that, and just addressing it with them from the very get-go, because they were out of town when I was diagnosed, which was nice because we had like 2 weeks to process. And that way when they did come home and we sat them down and talked to them about it, of course they cried immediately. And my 3 older kids, well, you don't know, but my 3 older kids they're grown and they live in different places, and so is my 3 little kids, and they were all like, I think like 12, 12 and under. And so I'm having this comfort. And the minute we say cancer, they just burst into tears, and they don't. And it taught me something. People don't know what cancer is. They just know
Mm,
it's bad. And so even my kids knew just from those words that they felt like I had an immediate death sentence. So it's like
yeah.
so as a family, we're learning how to walk through this and to live amongst this type of, really intense, traumatic diagnosis, and the things that happen and the things they saw my body going through, becoming bedridden, being on a walker, moving super slow. And I'm normally super active, and just seeing these things, my husband carrying me to the bathroom back and forth, like they're seeing this. And so it was all a lot for all of us.
Yeah. All right, we're going to take a segue. So coming through the cancer. So here you are, 6 years now.
Yes.
And you've actually had some pretty incredible things happen. I have seen the craziest, coolest photos of you post
Oh,
cancer. So I want you to just review for the listeners some of the amazing things that have happened post cancer and with Toodles.
well, I like to say I became an accidental advocate, for ostomies and colorectal cancer, because once I was diagnosed, I kind of made a decision that day whether I was going to talk about it or not. I decided to share my story, not realizing that I didn't have any attachment to whether they liked it or not. I just
Yeah.
wanted to share. And I thought it was a part of my healing experience to be transparent. Excuse me. And so I just started sharing, and then voila, all of a sudden, like I had gone to a beach. So I had let me just backtrack real quick. How my evolution with my ostomy, after naming my ostomy
Mhm.
and, coming to peace with that, I decided that before my 50th, the year of my 50th birthday, because I was 47, I was diagnosed. I said, okay, I'm going to enter a burlesque competition. I've never done burlesque. And, and so the only other time I had shown my bag in public prior to that was in 2017. So I had had my bag for a year. I went to Jamaica and decided to wear a bikini and my ostomy bag out, and I danced on the beach.
Oh my
So
gosh, that's so beautiful.
yeah, and it was a whole story, right? But
Yeah.
fast forward to that actually gave me the courage to then say, hey, I'm going to do a pole competition, or I'm going to do a burlesque competition. There happened to be one that was coming up. I entered. They did not know I had an ostomy, so I made my little costume and I wore a corset and made a conscious choice in the show whether I was going to show it or not,
Mm.
because it was my freeing moment. I wanted to liberate myself. I wanted to reclaim my body. I wanted to reclaim myself. So I thought, well, go on this stage and just bear myself, and so, of course you have on the pasties and the bottoms and all that, so you can't take off everything, and so I had my little corset on, and there came the moment, and I just undid it, and I turned around and I held my arms up and dropped it triumphantly and just held the pose. And it was so interesting because before that moment, no one knew that I was an ostomy. No one knew that I had colorectal cancer. No one knew anything about that. So everybody's cheering, oh, yeah, 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 because I'm dancing to Bad to the Bone, right? So they're like,
Yeah.
yeah, yeah, yeah. And I'm just like, yes. They don't know what this song means to me. And so I take it off and they go silent. The audience goes silent the minute they see this thing, because I think they can't figure out, some people can't figure it out.
What is
People
it? Yeah.
yeah, and then
Yeah.
all of a sudden, and my husband was in the audience, and he was like, it was magical because all of a sudden the room just erupted.
Oh,
We're like,
wow.
oh my gosh! So of course, I ended up winning, and there when it became it became an accidental advocacy, because a gentleman came up to me after the show and he shared with me. He said, I have had my ostomy since I was 18. I'm 28 now. And it has always been horrible for me. And I never felt good enough. And then I saw you and I saw what the possibility could be.
Yeah, that's so awesome.
After that, Toodles and I have toured,
Like
different
anytime, anywhere.
we have toured around the States. We've done different
Yeah.
burlesque shows around the States. We
Yeah.
even came to Australia and
Yes.
performed in Melbourne. Yeah, it was wonderful. And so it's part of helping me to break down the stigma, and also it taught me a lot about accepting myself and feeling good in my skin.
Yeah. So you walked the fashion show in Melbourne, is that correct?
Oh yes.
Oh, come on. Share it now. That's huge.
Yeah, there's some of the stuff. Yeah, I don't have my little sheet, but yes, I actually, how that kind of came about. I don't know if you heard of the Underneath We Are book project. Amy Herman out of Adelaide, she took these incredible photos of about 100 women, and we were in various states of bras and panties. And so I told her, I met her online, and I said, I'm coming to Australia. Had never been to Australia, and I was like, I'm coming to Australia. I'm going to shoot these pictures with you. I believe in your project so much. She's like, what? So I
Yeah.
go, I come to Australia and I shoot with her. But before that happened, she's like, hey, you should check out this fashion show. So I went and applied for it. Not, no, I didn't know. And they were like, yes, we would love to have you. So that became my international model debut
Yeah.
in Melbourne, because I was able to walk in the first disability focused runway show in Melbourne Fashion Week. It was beautiful. It was amazing. I walked with the most amazing models. It's to date, and I used to model professionally,
Mhm.
and this to date was my favorite show.
Oh,
Oh,
because for us here, when I was growing up in New Zealand, Melbourne Fashion Week was a really big deal for this part of the world. So it's always been quite an iconic opportunity, and a lot of sort of Southern Hemisphere models have made their careers based off walking Melbourne Fashion Week, and then they've gone on to do, you know, International Victoria's Secret and all that sort of stuff. So it is actually quite a big deal. And you walked it.
Yeah,
Hey, girl.
it was
So
wonderful.
good.
It's
Yeah,
wonderful.
it's
Mhm.
amazing. Okay, and then I saw this absolutely stunning picture of you for a Dove campaign.
Well, actually, that picture came from the Underneath We Are work.
Okay, I
So
make the
that was
connection now. Mhm.
yes, so that was Amy Herman's picture, and Dove saw it on, I think, on Amy's page or my page, and they picked it up. And I woke up the next morning and they had just like, oh my gosh, and they, just took it and kind of ran with it, and it just went viral, and it was beautiful. It was an amazing moment, just to see how many people were responding so favorably to it. It was such a nice way to raise awareness.
Yeah,
Mhm.
because I think Dove have been on that journey for a number of years, and I think they were probably one of the first breakout mainstream brands to identify and support women in all their forms, in
Yes.
all their situations, and they've continued to do that, which is, I believe, really inspirational. So it
Me too.
does obviously speak to our younger women. And I feel on some level we're starting to develop a bit more acceptance and understanding of all types of bodies are beautiful. And I mean,
Mhm.
there's still mainstream media that sort of says this is the idealistic way you should look, but I feel like when I speak to my daughter, there's a bit more acceptance for their body and everyone else's body. Like it's starting to feel a little bit more toned down
It is.
around, the way you should look.
It is.
And I think Dove have been one of the key mainstream brands. And this is like not a sponsored podcast, by the way.
No, it's not. It's not. And I have
Yeah,
Dove products, and I buy them.
yeah,
They sponsor me.
yeah,
I just I like their products. It's like I like the story that they're telling. I do love that. Just be you, no filters. It's beautiful. I can't argue with that. That's
yeah.
beautiful. Mhm.
So this takes us to the topic of body positivity. And I've just noticed, I'm on Instagram. Obviously, I'm posting what's happening in the podcast, and I've got a book out and everything. So I use the social media as a way to inform and engage people in conversations around the podcast. And some of the stuff that I'm seeing now is a little bit more around how women in their 40s, 50s, and beyond should be portraying their bodies, right? Like someone's telling us how we should be dressing, how we should be talking, and maybe if we should even be in public or at work or doing anything. So I'm picking up on these messages, and I feel in my gut some negativity around the messaging and the conversation. I think, and you're such a good person to talk to because you obviously have embraced a part of your situation where you have an appendage. Not well, I think it is by choice, but in some ways it's a lifesaver, and
It
yet
is.
you're going to go, okay, this is me, this is who I am, this is my body, scars and all, because it's really obvious in your pictures that with all the surgery that it has left scars, and you would expect that. So how do you feel about this conversation? I mean, I think you're maybe elevated beyond it now, but I'm sort of coming in at the ground level and going, yeah, I'm not sure how I feel about this conversation on people telling me whether I should or shouldn't wear a bikini.
Mhm.
Right? How do you
Yeah,
feel?
yeah. You know what I'm learning to listen to my own voice. Because it's like, I'm with you. We grew up in a time where magazines told us like, hey, this 20s and 30s, and this is how you do this. And so we kind of use that as our guidebook. And I've tossed it. I've tossed, I
Yeah.
have tossed
Yeah.
it because now it's just too much. It's like, when do we get to breathe? When do we get to just be? When do I get to just leave the house how I want, whether I comb my hair or not, whether I'm wearing pajamas or not? It's so ingrained in us that we just cannot just be. And so it's finding this piece. Like, it's so interesting you say that. I was talking with my daughter who's 18, and and I was like saying, oh, if somebody invited me to a really nice restaurant and I was dressed like this, and she's like, would you go? And I was like, and I thought about it, and I was like, back in the day, I wouldn't have,
Mm.
because the way you look, the way you dressed or showed up, said all of these things and how you were supposed to be. And I said, now I realize it's my energy. So yes, if I felt, I would show up and I would have my own swag, and I would be totally, I would have my own elegance. I don't need to put on something to be that. I'm learning to be that. And then the clothes, whatever I'm wearing, will accentuate that. It will show that. It will emote that. And so,
Enhance your personality. Yeah. Yeah.
yeah, and so it's like, I'm learning that, and we still can. And I'm also learning, like, people can be whatever they want. Some days I want to put on makeup, I want to play in my makeup, and I want to put on fabulous flouncy dresses, and I want to. Some days I want to wear a swimsuit, and some days I want to be in yoga, and whatever. And today I have on like little leggings, and it was so funny because I had that thought, because I put on leggings and my little top, and it's kind of body conforming. And I went out, and I was like, before I went out, I was like, did the check. And I'm like, you're good.
Ah, yes.
Like I was just like, you're good. You are you. So now what I say is, I am enough. I am
Yeah.
enough. And so I show up, I am enough. And no one ever says anything, but, oh, you look great. It's only when I'm in my own self doubt and ascribing to what I think people want to see me do or be in that the problems come. But for women, or for people, is showing up as our authentic self. If my son wants to wear nail polish and that makes him feel good, wear it. Why
Yeah.
am I telling you? I think I'm just over it. I am over it. I just letting people do what they want to do and
Yeah.
what makes them feel good, because that's what I'm gonna do.
Yeah. You're really inspiring, and just listening to you, you are just, and I'm talking to you, it feels like we're having a coffee together, and you're
Yeah.
really, really settled with who you are. And I think a life-changing situation really does accelerate that. I haven't had that happen, but I do want to get to that place a lot faster. And, my mission and purpose is to help other women also just embrace their situation. Of course, when you're going through hormonal changes and perimenopause and menopause, um, that really does shake things along quite a lot. How you feel about yourself, how you feel you look in your clothes when your body may have changed, your composition may have shifted. And so, yeah, I want to help other women understand that all these moments in life are moments for us to really dive deep and embrace who we really are as a human being, irrespective of the way we look, the color of our hair, the wrinkles on our skin, the scars on our bodies. Like, I just want to clear the floor of those conversations and go, this is your fantastic, amazing self, human self. Be all you can be, own it, embrace it. And just sort of sitting here in this conversation with you, it just, yeah, I think it just elevates that. We just have to be you get one shot, you know. You've made that really clear. So we don't
Yeah.
have time for this,
Yeah.
like worrying about what people are saying or how we should look or how we should dress. Yeah.
Yeah, we spend a lot of time. And when you have like these types of diagnoses, you can grow from it or you don't have to. Just because you have cancer doesn't mean everybody's going to grow and get these profound moments. No,
Yeah.
I've seen quite the opposite, because people have their own experiences. It has enriched me because it's something that I chose to, because I believe there's a silver lining in every cloud. Even if my body had transitioned, even if, which people call losing the fight, but even if my body had transitioned through this, I still feel great about what I put into that journey. It's like I know that because now I have a new diagnosis, and it's intense, and the outlook is not favorable. However, and so I got that diagnosis in January. So I've been like growing through this space of this new diagnosis and the finite information that they give you. And I just realized it was like, you know what, this is just another level. This is another level of being, and it is the true surrender. And so I just decided, like, you know what, I'm going to thank my body for each day that I go forward, because it's not promised for any of us. And I'm going to thank these different parts. And that's part of how I've come to experience this self-love, was realizing that my feet, I'm so thankful for my feet. They've carried me. They have carried this frame for 53 years.
Yeah.
They've traveled so many roads, and they have just been so, and I go into that whole thankful space about whatever it is. I'm thankful for the scars because they tell the most incredible stories of overcoming and strength and resilience and vulnerability
Mm-hmm.
and
Yeah.
trauma. They
Yeah.
tell stories. And I, it's just like I had the wonderful opportunity of doing like an art cancer therapy class with a bunch of other women who were either in the journey or they were survivors. And at that time, I was newly in the journey. And I'm in this class with these women, and we're sharing our stories as we paint these vases. And so we were doing the Japanese art of, I don't want to mispronounce it, but kintsugi.
Mm-hmm.
And so we were doing that, and so we were painting these vessels gold, and each of those cracks was representing what we've gone through, not just cancer, but life, the scars we carry that you might not see. But if I
Yeah.
were to paint your body, or you were to paint your scars, that we would then see. So I just thought that was beautiful, and that helped me to go on and go, okay, I can, these scars, why am I hiding them? Why am I ashamed of them? They tell an incredible story. They're beautiful.
They are. Yeah. That's a beautiful story. So going into this podcast, I wasn't aware that you are facing another challenge. And I had a question for you, but I think it's still 100% relevant because you're alive today and you have such an inspiring mindset. So, hopes and dreams for the future, Kimberly.
Oh, yes, yes.
What's happening? Where you,
I
which
have,
fashion catwalk are you walking next?
man, I would love to come back and walk in Australia. I would love to walk in Milan and Paris, and defy those odds and show women that, I'm going to be 54 this month in a couple weeks. And so just show us that we can be out on this runway as we are and be so fierce and fabulous. And so, yes, I want to do some traveling. So right now, with this new focus, we are going to do some traveling as a family and create, more memories, because I'm about the quality of life and not
Yes,
the quantity. So yeah, I've got all kinds of goals and dreams. So hopefully I'll come and meet you and
that would be
hug you.
amazing. Come on down.
Yeah,
Come at summertime, and we've got an amazing beach. You can bring all the bikinis.
yes, I will.
I'll be there with you. We'll be defying what it means, whatever. You can wear whatever and we can be ourselves.
That's right. You can breathe. I think
Yes.
it's nice. It's like that day I took my shirt off, because you know how when you go and you wear a bikini and you have a shirt over it. And I was
Mm.
trying to make my decision that day that I chose to show my ostomy for the very first time. And I was like back and forth, back and forth. And then I finally took it off, and I saw like a myriad of responses to it. And once I just started walking on the beach, and it just sat with me, and I was okay. I realized that no one on this beach is looking at me, no matter what their reaction. They don't know the journey that I've been on, and how grateful I am to be here and what this means to me. So I'm going to have a blast. And I went and I took dance lessons, and I have that video on my Instagram. And it just freed me. It was a
Yeah.
liberating thing. And I think from then on, it's just been this work of liberating. And then I think life is a work of liberating ourselves if we take that journey.
Kimberly, thank you so much for joining the Sexy Aging podcast. You are an incredible human being, and I look forward to seeing you in the flesh
Yes.
this year sometime, hopefully.
That would be lovely. Thank you so much for having me. Oh, I cannot wait to just give you a big hug, Tracy.
I know, it's going to happen, Kimberly. We are putting it
Yes,
out there. We are doing this.
yes, we are.
Yeah.
We're going to manifest that. Thank you so much for the work that you do to help demystify aging and helping us to embrace this is a beautiful, beautiful journey because it is each gray
So
hair that
is.
we receive is a
Yeah.
beautiful gift. So thank you. Thank you for reinforcing that.
Thank you.